Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy Nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks so much for joining us. It's Jennifer Rogers Markwell with the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. And today I have the opportunity to introduce Natasha Bourlin, who I've known for many, many years. Wow. Natasha, thanks so much for making time to spend with us.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Well, tell us about you and why you do what you do.
So I had quite a crazy set of life experiences that really drove me to pursuing my dreams. And there is one way that you can, when life throws you down a pit, there are two things you can do. You can lay in the bottom of that pit and you can wallow and you can feel sorry for yourself, or you can try to climb your way out. And the next time that you fall in any sort of a pit, you'll be that much stronger and enable yourself to make it that much easier to get out. So I had some financial hardships in a marriage, and I had some betrayal and infidelity in a marriage in a relationship I was in for 12 years. Throughout that, I found out that all of our savings was depleted in an effort to maintain several relationships, including his marriage. And when I finally realized all the things that were happening, instead of the woman getting the house and all that does occur sometimes, I was left destitute. It was his family's house that we lived in. And so when I divorced him, I moved back in with my mother in my 40s. And I felt like my entire world had collapsed, and it had really, it imploded on me in 2 seconds. And there's nothing like that. So what did I do? I could lay in the bottom of that pit, and I did for quite a while, until I just decided I was going to pursue my dream career, which kind of happened in unison at the same time. I had decided to make a career change. I was in public relations for about 15 years on a national and international scale. And I left that career to become a writer because that was really, truly what was in my heart. And everyone talks about pursuing your passions as a career. And I decided to make that flip. And against much criticism, I guess I could say, a lot of disparaging, you can't really make that happen. You can't. And I said, no, I can. And I did. And it wasn't the easiest thing to do, of course. You take a financial hit, certainly. You take many steps down in your career path sometimes to enter a new field. But it was something that my heart led me to, and I have never looked back, and I have never regretted it once. I am living in my dream destination. I'm living in Hawaii, writing for the San Francisco Chronicle and various other newspapers, magazines, and companies as well for ghostwriting and content creation. So I am living my best life now, but it had to explode first before I could discover it.
And I think explode is a very graceful, nice way to kind of explain your journey. I mean, I know you, so I know kind of what happened and the timeline that it happened in, and I know it was a lot. You had a lot going on for sure, and a lot that you were navigating through, and I think you've done it so gracefully. And one thing that I definitely appreciated was you try to find the humor in things, right? Mm-hmm. Like you've always been that person, like truly always been that person. And I feel like with you, I know that there was some talk of like maybe a children's book that wasn't a children's book, that was more of a coffee table book. And then another book evolving from this. Are you open to sharing any of that?
I am, actually. So I'll tell you a bit I'll tell the listeners a bit about what you know in terms of the craziness of the story that I had. So what had happened was that my ex-husband now, husband at the time, he had a girlfriend that showed up at my door drunk after crashing her car in my yard. He was not home at the time. She was a burlesque dancer and in full garb, coming fresh from rehearsal to tell me about my husband's 5-year infidelities with her. And she showed me proof that I wanted to scrape from my eyeballs and was hoping that one day I would be able to unsee, but and it fades after time, certainly. So uh, in that, oh, Jennifer, what was I drifted on that one. I'm so
The
sorry.
book. No, no,
The
no.
book.
This is
What's
this
the
is a
book?
lot. This is heavy and this is a lot. But I was saying how you
Yes.
have,
Yes.
through moving through things, you have kind of found a little humor, and then also kind of putting it out there for others to hopefully learn from. And
Thank you for bringing me back. Okay.
yeah,
So what happened after that situation that was so surreal? I was actually diagnosed with severe depression and PTSD after that one scenario that led to other revelations, I'll just say. But in the face of the absolute destruction of my life and my love, I started writing nursery rhymes for betrayed adults. The first one being entitled "The Whore at My Door," of course. And so I decided that, in the midst of being absolutely devastated, why not find some humor in the devastation and at least make myself laugh out of it, because what else can you do? Again, what else can you do? I just can't wallow. I'm not that person. I'm not that person to let this destroy me as a human. This kind of infidelity, this kind of distrust, finding out that we had no money left. That was quite a revelation as well. So yes, I want to write a nursery rhymes book for betrayed adults. That is in my plan for the next year. I'm getting pushed a little bit because I have such a crazy history of dating, post and pre marriage, that I'm actually thinking I've gotten many hopeful suggestions in writing a book about my actual relationships and what I have discovered, because I have always followed this credo of finding the bright side. I'm a bright side person. I'm a cup half full person at heart. And so I had to look for the bright side in this. And I learned so much about humanity and betrayal and love and depth and life and restarting your life in your 40s. That I kind of want to write a book about the good that comes out of the bad.
you had
For
said you had said before too about the whole phoenix, right? And I feel
Yep.
like not as definable as you, quite
I
frankly.
am, when I came out of that, I said, I am an unbridled phoenix now. I am rising from the ashes. I have risen from those ashes. I have risen out of the flames of what I felt hell, absolute hell for years. There was so much more to it that my ex-husband was actually arrested for felony embezzlement before even I found out about the infidelity, and I stuck by him for that. And to try so hard, coming from a family that was very poor. I'm first generation American, and my father was an immigrant to this country, and so we were raised to nickel and dime everything. And so to have worked all my life for something and to have it ripped away in the face of such um I can't even dubious actions by somebody that claimed to love me. It really caused me to reframe my entire look at money. I had to.
Yeah. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing. That's a wild journey that you've been on and come through, by all means.
Yeah.
So one thing that you had touched on too is talking about kind of your family and growing up, and we like to talk about like money memories. When you
Mhm.
think about money for you, what's that first memory that kind of comes to mind that really resonates with you, that helps you, or maybe helped in essence mold your relationship with money as an adult?
One of the first ones that I ever remember is we m- my father was often furloughed. He worked for United Airlines, and he was often furloughed, and so would be out of work for periods of time. Um, but again, they were immigrants, and they naturally one of the first things that he instilled in me as a human was don't ever ask an immigrant what they do. Here in America, we often meet people and we stick out our hand and say, hi, my name is, so what do you do? That's not something you do for an immigrant, because that immigrant could have been a doctor overseas in their home country, and they come here and now they're sweeping floors, and there's honor in all of that. So my first money memory was really going to a Sizzler. Like, we went to a family dinner. We were going to a family dinner. I was an only child, so it was just the three of us. And we walked into the Sizzler and we went up and looked at that giant menu. And I remember my father saying, all you can eat, $7. That's so expensive. And we walked out, and I think he might have grabbed some utensils or napkins on the way out. And we walked out because it was too expensive to go to Sizzler for our family. And I remember being mortified in a way that, and my memory actually stops there. I don't even know what we did after that, because I was just so embarrassed that we walked out of that. And like, $20 was too much for my family to go to dinner. And a Sizzler was a very nice place for us. So that's my biggest money memory. And the one that I have to recover was that my parents got divorced when I was 11. And my father, bless his heart, rest in peace, he passed away about a year ago, but he was not super diligent about paying child support, let's just say, at first. And so my mother was left as well destitute. And so I realized that I had to do something to make money for us to help. And so I think I was 12 or 13 years old, I started tie-dyeing t-shirts. And I would have my mom drive me around because I just wanted to help. I wanted to contribute. I saw how depressed and hard she was trying, and temp jobs and all this to just keep food on our table. And so I had my mom drive me around to record stores. Yes, record stores back then. And see if I could peddle my tie-dyes and just, see if they could sell them and I could contribute to my family and try to help my mom pull out of this phase she was in.
Wow. Yeah,
So I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time.
yeah, I was going to say that since I've known you, you've always been.
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand with kind of what you've already shared to a certain extent too, with financial infidelities. I know that you shared already a lot. Are there any instances, either experiences that you've gone through or that others that you know have gone through, that you feel folks could learn from?
Understand that if you choose to pursue your dreams, that financially you're likely going to take a hit. But if you live life like, the wealth will come back to you. The wealth will just live life confident that money will come to you, that God, the universe, will not leave you, just that they won't leave you in dire straits. If you can somehow delve into yourself and bring out that confidence, and even when it's the hardest to do, just know that you can pursue your dreams and you can find success there. But you might financially have to take a little hit, but in the long run, it's so worth it for your mental health, your emotional health, and your sanity, and your professional ethics. You're doing something you love. There's nothing like it.
That's super powerful. So before we wrap, I always like to ask, what are tips and tricks or tricks that you're utilizing in your household with money, right? What are you doing that other folks could hear and be like, that's a fantastic idea. I could, put that in my own household.
Exactly. So I live in Hawaii, so that's not the cheapest place in the world to live. We know about groceries and things like that. However, that was part of my pursuing of my dream, was to move to Hawaii. When I went through a first round of betrayal with my husband, I remember telling myself, if I wasn't married, I'd just up and move to Hawaii. And even that pursuing of that dream, I made possible, because it is all possible to do. I moved to an island that I live on, the Big Island, where things aren't as priced like Waikiki. It's not priced like Maui. What I do here, and other people, depending on the area that you live in, I shop very frequently at the farmers markets here, which are abundant. They're not only do you get the health benefits of that, you're supporting your local community. That is something I always try to do as well, is find ways to support your local community, because you're as cliche as it sounds, you're raising the tide for everybody around you. So I really, really keep it local as much as possible. The farmers markets, you can find goods that came directly from the farmer that don't have the uptick in pricing that the grocery stores do. Plus, it's just so connective in a way. I'm a travel writer predominantly, so I use credit cards that have travel points. I try to pay them off. This is something from my father. I try to pay off something at my credit card every month, so that you're getting that credit. My credit is near 800, which I'm proud of. So I'm very diligent about keeping my credit up too, because people don't even have any credit.
Yeah.
And that is so important, especially if you get in some sort of an emergency situation, to have a credit card. Get a credit card. If you need to pay it off every month, do it. But get the benefits that credit card reaps for you, be it cashback, travel rewards, anything. But also make sure you're diligent about keeping your credit up, because you never know when that can come in handy. And I guarantee you it will one day.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Natasha, for sharing everything. And it's wonderful to see you and just catch up.
You too. I just adore you. I am so happy you're pursuing your dreams, Jennifer. You are a glowing, shining light of inspiration for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening, whether you're watching, you're listening, wherever you're at. Thanks for spending some time with us on this episode of the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.